Okay, imagine this. It's 2009 in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. Snow still covers the land in the middle of March, bringing some brightness to a dark northern evening. You're taking a nice little walk in the historic city, near the Volga River and a 16th century fortress, when you see some lights in the distance. It's fire, torches, carried by around a dozen people who are marching towards you in orderly fashion. The leader guiding the line of torches is carrying some kind of a banner. You're thinking, is this a protest? A demonstration by some extremist group? As they're getting closer, you're getting ready to avoid all eye contact just in case. At the same time, being curious about this unusual sight. What could this be about? While you're glancing at them, you're starting to catch more details. The group consists of pretty ordinary-looking young men. But you're not really paying attention to them. No, your eyes are pinned to the banner that you're now seeing clearly. There's no demands for change, no catchphrases or logos, only a picture of a female cartoon mouse. You recognize her as Gadget Hackwrench from that late 80s kid show Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the one with Disney's chipmunk duo fighting evil along with friends. Okay, what is going on here? You have just encountered members of the cult of Gaikoslavs, a Russian religious group that worships Gadget Hackwrench as their goddess. Media has a strange effect on us. We feel like we know these fictional characters on a personal level. We know their values, hopes and dreams, their flaws and unique quirks. We relate to them, aspire to be like them, even love them. No matter their shape or form, if they even resemble human beings, we feel a strong emotional connection to them. Fans can have amazingly strong parasocial relationships with these characters. They feel like close friends, even though you can never actually communicate with them. These one-sided relationships can become obsessive, fanatic. There's a thin line between extremely passionate fandom to religious ecstasy. So it's not that unbelievable that some fandoms have adopted religious elements and rhetorics. Star Wars fans have formed a sub-community of Jediism, where the fictional universe's belief system, like the concept of the Force, is adopted as your faith. It depends on the person how serious they are about it though. Media is often about the fight between good and evil, the same dualistic worldview seen in most large religions. You know, there's the good guys, the side of the light, and the dark side of evil. Love for fiction can also manifest as romantic feelings for a specific character. A lot of us had cartoon crushes when we were young, and some of them might have been anthropomorphic animals, no matter if you grew up to become part of the furry community or not. Characters like Lola Bunny, Minero Mink, Robin Hood and Maid Marian, Sally Acorn, no, actually any Sonic character.
Hot chick heaven.
Any Lion King character. Sandy Cheeks. Gadget Hackwrench was the first crush of many Gen Xers and millennials, being just another example of 90s cartoons creating a generation of furries. And it's easy to see why someone might find her attractive. You know, she is both smart and cute, and she's a mouse girl. Yeah, to be honest, I also like mouse girls. I do believe in mouse girl supremacy. It's way more understandable to like her than, I don't know, Thomas the Tank Engine or the cows from Home on the Range. Apparently, some people like them as well. Some of these cartoon crushes become so beloved, fans see them as divine. They bring light, joy and love in their hearts like any entity worshipped as God. And that is exactly what Gaikoslavie is about. If you've heard of them before, you've likely seen these pictures where a group of mostly guys are posing with torches and a banner of Gadget. Usually they're used as an example of strange obsessive furries in a mocking or bewildered fashion, or just showcasing Russians being Russians. These pictures are introduced as a meetup of a real cult that actually worships the Disney character as their goddess. They were celebrating her birthday, March 15th, despite Gadget's birthday never being mentioned canonically. These pictures became known in the eccentric online people / cringe culture corners of the internet in 2010s, when English language websites started to share them, introducing the group to Western audiences. They got these pictures from one of the members who had published them online for other Gadget lovers. One of these sites was English Russia that showcases interesting, often bizarre phenomena from ex-Soviet countries. The article from 2010 is mostly pictures from the last year's meetup, the march, the afterparty, and placements of flyers promoting the event. With the pictures there's some questionably translated quotes from the alleged participants, explaining why they love their rodent goddess. She is the divine being, the most untouched and perfect sibling of the great god on earth. Why I love her? It's a stupid question. How I can't love the goddess? She is strict, cute, optimistic, and her level of technical knowledge is unachievable for a mortal being. The article unsurprisingly stirred curiosity, bafflement, and disbelief. It was unhinged, ridiculous, and kind of funny. It was a combination of two groups of people often seen as weird, furries and Russians. Some commenters saw this as proof of the decay of Russia, East fallen. Others understood it as an ironic protest against religion. Someone compares it to Euro's birthday parties in Austin, Texas, where people also gather to celebrate the birthday of a fictional character. In English Russia, not much was told about the group. Other sources explain that they call themselves Gaikoslavie, Gaika being Gadget's name in the Russian dub of Rescue Rangers. The name literally means glorification of Gadget, taken from the Russian word for Orthodox Christianity, pravoslavie, meaning correct or true glorification. Medium published an article about them in 2018, explaining some main principles of the cult of Gadgetologists, as they are called here. They explain that the cartoon character is the symbol of light and love, and the goal of the members is to both show their love for her and her love for all mankind. The two articles by Medium and English Russia are the main English sources about the cult, others just repeating them. But you're not getting the whole picture from these two brief articles that only scratch the surface. Just who are these people? Do they really think their mouse girl waifu is a divine being? If we want to know what the hell Gaikoslavie is about, we need to explore the Russian side of the internet. But the thing is, I don't speak Russian, so I have to do this with the power of Google Translate by my side. So keep that in mind, my translations are most likely not perfect. A huge part of the Rescue Rangers fandom is centered around our inventive mouse. Yes, there was a Rescuers fandom, a surprisingly active one actually. Gadget has been insanely popular, having several fan sites of her own in the earlier days of the internet when fan sites were a thing. She is beloved by furries especially, being one of the most prolific retro furry girls. Even folks at Disney were apparently surprised by her huge following. After all, despite being part of the main cast, she is more like a secondary character, not a main one. But many became fans of the TV show only because of her. Gee, I wonder why. And her fans are passionate, being called Gadgetphiles or Gadgetphiles online. Gaikoslav just take their adoration one step further. They're in the marginal of the fandom that's itself relatively marginal. Even other Rangers fans who are themselves really passionate and committed see them as weirdos. There are several different fan groups identifying themselves as Gaikoslavs. There are also several different accounts on who was the original mastermind of the cult and where it originated. This might be a misunderstanding from those outside of the community, or maybe because these groups had a tendency to bicker against each other, each claiming to be the true Gaikoslavie. Because hey, this is important stuff. Who doesn't want the honor and nerd street cred of being the original prophet of the Gadget cult? The most prolific and easiest to research community is Konorama, a Moscow-based group. They have most archived material that's still accessible, when most Gaikoslavic stuff seems to be lost to time, only leaving a sea of dead links behind. So Konorama is my main source and my information is from their point of view. Their website from 2005 is still up and even updated with news related to the remnants of the community, meaning ordinary fandom stuff, not culture. It has this sick web design, straight from the Jurassic period. The cursor is the Ranger plane. Cute. The site consists of material related to the Rescue Rangers show, Gaikoslavic religious texts, fan creations, and a forum. The main actor in this group is a person by the username of Kon. He claims to have founded Gaikoslavie as a whole, and he is the creator of the Konorama community and its website. So he is obviously a huge authority in the scene. Beside him, there's a small group of regulars who post on the forums and share their fan art and fanfics on the website. The main form of glorifying Gadget is creating art for her. There's a lot of it, coming in many shapes and forms, from simple pencil drawings and digital art to 3D models and even embroidery. It's Russia after all. In the gallery of remarkable works, you can see Gadget as an anime girl, Gadget as a Meido, Gadget as Dorothy, Gadget in Avatar, Gadget in Aliens, Gadget in War, Gadget arrested, Gadget being born, pregnant Gadget, Ukrainian Gadget, a mix between Gadget and Pikachu. Oh no, not again. Oh no. Hey, hold up, wait a minute. I thought this stuff wasn't allowed here. Oh, okay. What an unfortunate cropping. I thought she was pregnant and really happy about something. There's also fanfics and fanart of those fanfics. And obviously someone made a Gadget shrine. Someone even linked an AI chatbot where you can talk to Gadget herself, because of course there is an AI chatbot of her, like every other pretty cartoon female under the sun. It's not all Gadget though. Some of the art depicts other rescuers characters, like this epic drawing of Della's Naruto, or Tammy with a giant balalaika. Badass. And the same person made their own rescuers OC, like their 6th Rescue Ranger. I'm surprised we don't see more of this. Yo, check out my Rescue Rangers OC, do not steal. At Konorama, you can still join the cult if you're interested in becoming a Gaikoslav yourself. All you need to do is tell a few things about yourself, like your name, email, residence, and marital status for some reason, and pay an admission fee of 33 acorns, whatever that means. You also have to answer a few trivia questions related to the Rescue Rangers show to prove your nerdiness. No fake fans allowed. By the way, the birthday meetups were not organized by Konorama. They were seemingly random fans and not a specific community. Any Gadgetphile was welcome. But at least one of the Konorama regulars was present, and these meetups were promoted at their site. Like this one for the upcoming 2009 event, quote, "Let me remind you, March 15th is approaching, a significant and blessed day for all Gaikoslavs, the day on which, as is known, Gadget's birth is celebrated. Let me remind you that on this occasion, on 14th to 15th, another meeting of her fans will be held in Nizhny Novgorod. Those who believe in her, those for whom her name is not an empty sound, those who keep her image in their hearts next to the word love. We invite you to share your feelings with like-minded people and celebrate Gadget's birthday together. We hope this will become one of the unique events in your life." Yeah, I bet it was one of the unique events in their life, alright. In this post, some links were provided that had more info and pics from previous meetings. Sadly, they don't work anymore and aren't archived, so pretty much all the info I managed to gather about these get-togethers are from these posts and English Russia with their pictures. What I did find out is one of the local fans was hosting and an after-party was held at their place. Even a possibility of financial aid is hinted if you didn't have the means to travel to Nizhny Novgorod and you really needed to be at this epic birthday bash. That's sweet. Like the quote said, this wasn't the first meetup, one was held a year before in 2008. However, I couldn't find out if they met again. It's not really mentioned on the forum or guestbook ever since. Maybe they got bored and stopped the yearly tradition in its infancy. Or maybe they hesitated to meet or did that in secret, because in 2010 a lot more people were aware of Gaikoslavie and their celebrations. Maybe they didn't want to announce their later meetups in fear of outsiders coming in flocks to poke at them. Because, let's face it, they likely got some harassment for the horrible crime of being weird. I have no idea how they came up with the date March 15th. I found no explanation for it, partly because Kon doesn't believe Gadget can have a birthday. She's a goddess, so we don't know when she came to be. So not every Gaikoslav approves of these birthday parties. The date is not from the show, Gadget's birthday is never mentioned in it, and the Rescue Rangers began airing in 4th of March 1989. Maybe it relates to the Russian airing? Man, I don't know. Maybe it's related to Ides of March, that was in March 15th, or Gorbachev's election as the president of Soviet Union, or the first women's boat race between the universities of Oxford and Cambridge. Like any other Rescuers fan site from that time, Konorama has a lot of material about the show itself. But this is some real dedication. Not only is there the basic stuff like character introductions, there's a list of all the inventions that appeared in the show, categorized by their creator. Yeah, take a wild guess who made the most of them. There's also this chart of all the evil plans seen in the show, and even percentages for each type of crime committed. It's like I'm reading some yearly police records, not something about an old kids cartoon. I don't wanna sound like I'm making fun of autistic people, but man is this autistic. Fat Cat, the main antagonist of the show, is of course the most prolific evildoer, and his crimes include things like theft, kidnapping, animal cruelty, terrorism, environmental crimes, attempted murder, megalomania. Like damn, look him up! Gadget was around from the beginning, the first episode. She's an important part of the Rescue Rangers, not just the token girl one, you know. She's the inventor and the mechanic of the squad, designing a lot of tools and, well, gadgets, like the Ranger plane. Of course, she has the longest profile on the Russian fan sites I managed to find, telling you all about how great she is. Sometimes it's like they're talking about a North Korean supreme leader. She has a genius-level intellect, she's capable, brave, and has a fix-it-all attitude, she is also kind and caring, always ready to help others. Both Chip and Dale seem to owe her heavily, trying to win her heart, but she is pretty much married to her work, mostly focusing on MacGyvering stuff out of garbage. Gadget is not perfect, despite being a literal goddess. She can be a scatterbrain, and her inventions can be f***ed up because of that. She can also be a little hard-headed. Oh no, a god with a temper. Interestingly, she has some characteristics and quirks that are often connected to neurodivergency, some fans even suggesting she might be on the spectrum or has ADHD. She is shy at first, but once she gets excited, she talks your ear off, using jargon and expressions that leaves others confused. She is constantly deep into her thoughts, her own technical world, and she gets so focused on her work she doesn't pay any attention to what's going on around her. Gadget has been celebrated as one of the more well-written female characters in kid shows from that era. There wasn't that many geeky, dorky engineering females in cartoons. She's not a one-sided cardboard cutout of a character whose only personality trait is girl, and her flaws are more of the charming ones, makes her just more likable. So no wonder so many fans connect with her, and that so many fans are technically minded guys. Yeah, I noticed that many Gaikoslavs seem to be really interested in tech. They have long conversations about computer nerds, they code their own websites, and someone made I guess it's a circuit board with a picture of Gadget on it. Of course they love a character like this. She is interested in the same kind of things they are. She has their way of thinking. She is like the perfect combination of beauty, kindness, and big brains. We stand our autistic queen. Gadget's characteristics can also be connected to the ideal Soviet womanhood. Women were expected to join the building of the socialist dream society by being hardworking and capable both at home and at work. They could pursue pretty much the same careers men could, and a woman could, at least in theory, work in a male-dominated field, becoming, for example, a construction worker, a doctor, an engineer, or go to space. But they were also expected to be wives and mothers, with qualities connected to traditional femininity like gentleness and softness. Yeah, kinda sounds like our mouse girl, doesn't it? Get you done, but has a delicate side. A Russian Redditor explains it like this, quote, "Random Russian here, Gadget Hackwrench is indeed a character we kind of worship, mainly because she is a prototype of a perfect woman. If you are a girl, you look fine and you have half the features she has, mental features like mindset, willpower, team play, eagerness, valid reasoning, that kind of features, you'll be extremely popular among Russian men born in the late 80s to mid-2000s. One interesting thing about the Gadgetphiles is their relationship with that kind of fan art, if you catch my drift. You're probably not surprised, she's a popular subject for Rule 34 art. But Gaikoslavs aren't usually fans of it, while smut is degrading to their goddess. And they are not the only ones. The Rescuers fandom in general had an unusually vocal opposition against adult art. Most fandoms have more or less accepted that not safe for work art is an inevitable thing, even when talking about kid shows. But the Rescue Rangers community had a straight-up activism against cooning material. A group that calls itself Rangerphiles against Gadget erotica, or simply R.A.G.E, was already formed in 1998. They had a manifesto where they list their reasonings for opposing adult art. They view it as degrading to women and Gadget herself. She is a deeper character than a simple sexy woman, only existing for the male gaze. It's simply out of character for her. She covers herself while the boys hang out without pants. In fact, she is so modest, she even has this grandma ass nightgown. This children's cartoon rat wouldn't pose like that. Well, yeah, no shit. Another point of criticism is that this art is often out of model. It's pretty much just human bodies with Gadget's head and tail. Okay, I see what they mean, but does that really matter? What if someone drew her with an actual mouse body with 10 tits? Would it be more or less in model? Yes, I googled how many nipples mice have. And they're saying this while acknowledging she is pretty off model in the show too. Like, who is this? Lastly, kids and their parents might find these pictures. It's irresponsible and makes the whole fandom look bad. Disney might even take some action against them, like close even the innocent, family-friendly fan sites. They might even make less merchandise of Gadget. The horror. Many Gaikoslavs continued on R.A.G.E's crusade against the adult content, judging those who draw and share it. Not safe for work art obviously isn't accepted to their sites, since it's seen as even worse if you claim to be Gaikoslavic yet publish that stuff. Apparently there used to be at least one website like this that adopted adult art as glorification of Gadget, disgusting the community. You can't be a true believer if you're a Gadget gooner. This heavy condemnation might be a surprise to some. I think many would assume these people to be mass consumers of Gadget smut. Okay, well, let's return to Gadget Jesus and finally look at the actual holy texts of Gaikoslavie. To this day, they are not finished, seemingly having been abandoned years ago. All we have are the main principles of Gaikoslavic faith written by Kon in 2010 and some proverbs, kinda like Bible stories where fictional people or animals meet Gadget. The principles begin by explaining the genesis of Gaikoslavie. According to Kon, the community was born in the early 2000s amongst the Russian rescuers fandom. A poll was held somewhere in the West asking fans who was their favorite character in the cartoon. Chip was number 1, but to the horror of Russian fans, Gadget Hackwrench was at the 5th place. Loser! Even Foxglove, a way more obscure character that appeared in like one episode, was above her. This was shocking because according to Kon, Gadget was easily the most popular one in Russia, to the point where the Russian rescuers fandom was pretty much a Gadget fandom. So the implication that the Western scum didn't appreciate their fave girl was unspeakable. Something needed to be done. Okay, so this single random poll was apparently so significant it made it necessary to show the whole world how much Gadget is actually loved. Like, none of the other characters are worshipped as gods, right? Additionally, some of the Gadget fanboys had become frustrated. Their deep affection could never get a response. They could never meet their beloved, never talk to her, never see her beautiful rodent face. Someone in a fursuit doesn't count. So their unrequited love made them depressed. For some, it got so bad that they abandoned the fandom altogether or even started to hate Gadget. But by divinizing her, making her a goddess, it could be shown how Gadget in fact loves them all back. After all, in any other religion, people have no problem communicating with a being that's above our perception. They still feel they have a mutual relationship with them. So to suit these lovesick fans, there needed to be religious rhetorics. If you love Gadget, why suffer? You should rejoice. Love is a good and beautiful thing. So the virtual church of Gaikoslavie was born, to gather these fans together to celebrate her and to provide support, brotherly love, respect and understanding. Actually wholesome. Kon claims there are other sources backing up this origin story found in the old fan forums. They would show the group's formation and early days in real time and would be awesome to read, but they seem to be again not archived. So Kon is my only source on this. Dude, finding these original forum posts would be like finding the Dead Sea Scrolls. After this down-to-earth origin story, we get to the actual principles of faith and take a leap to a far more esoteric stuff. All the earlier notions of this being consciously made up fandom bullshit are thrown out the window, ignored for the rest of the text. Instead, it's stated in complete seriousness that Gadget is a goddess that created our world. Yes, this girl has existed for longer than the universe itself, her origins being unknown to us mere mortals. The cartoon mouse is only one of her forms. She has taken several of them over the history of mankind. Yet it's made clear that the Rescue Rangers character is not the same as the goddess Gadget. It's kinda like an actor playing a character. You know, there's a difference between the role and the one who's portraying the role. Gadget can interact with us, and she's anticipated to take a form in this world, if she hasn't done so already. Maybe she's already here. She might be anyone among us. What if God was one of us? So Gaikoslavs are expected to be ready to meet her love at any time. The goddess is the purest symbol of love and delight, deeply caring for all her creations. Everything Gaikoslavs do comes from the basis of loving the goddess back. This is done by creating something for her, spreading the good word, doing righteous acts, and living similarly to the Rescue Rangers, who work as the model for good moral life, helping others, fighting for justice against evil, eating cheese, no bans, all that nice stuff. And you know, we actually need to love a Gadget back. You see, her life force consists of humanity's love for her, so if we forget her, she dies, like Tinkerbell. And Gaikoslavs obviously don't want that, they want her to live forever. This is explained as the difference between Gaikoslavie and established religions like Christianity. Usually God is relatively unbothered by whether we love them or not. It's only in our own best interest to worship God. But in Gaikoslavie, the relationship is more symbiotic. Gadget needs us as much as we need her. We literally exist to love her, like we're some kind of livestock raised to be consumed by her. No, it's really compared to breeding animals for food. Since Gadget is all good and lovely, there needs to be an evil counterpart for her. Pusiel is an enigmatic being, hardly anything is explained about them, only that they are even more mysterious and unknown as Gadget herself. Sometimes, like in Medium's article about Gaikoslavie, Pusiel is translated as Fat Cat, the antagonist of the cartoon show. He is called Tolstopus in Russian, so the name is kinda similar, like Pusiel. But I got the vibe that the Gaikoslavic devil is not Fat Cat, but a completely different, like more abstract thing made up by the community. Like, it's not mentioned that Pusiel has a cartoon cat form or any other references to the show. So either the article's writer fucked up, or I fucked up with bad translations. I like the idea of Fat Cat being literally Satan though. But whatever Pusiel is, they work just like the Christian devil, trying to seduce mankind to commit sin and abandon the true path of following Gadget. Yes, the concept of sin exists in Gaikoslavie. It's not explained too well, but it seems like it means the same as sin in Christianity. Oh, and heaven and hell also exist. Imagine dying and arriving at the pearly gates only to see Gadget there. This dualism of good and evil connects to both religion and the cartoon show that's about good guys fighting evil. It's pretty clear that Gaikoslavie took heavy inspiration from Christianity, despite the actual goal of stemming mainly from the cartoon show. They didn't want to rely too much on any existing religion, like simply copying them. Yeah, not sure if they succeeded in that, because to me, this is pretty much just Christianity with rats. Yeah, guess a show made for children that lasted for 2 seasons doesn't provide much building material for an entire religion. By the way, it's not clear from the text how many of these ideas came from Kon himself, or if it's just his compilation of others' suggestions. But some things like the amount of religious influence was discussed on the Konorama forum, hinting the community having at least some input. Okay, but back to the holy text. In Gaikoslavie, our world is the battleground in the war between good and evil. In different points in history, one is in more control, having the upper hand over the other. This depends on humanity itself. Do they live more by the Gadget way or the Pusiel way? But it will not always be like this. Someday, the battle is destined to end. Yes, Gaikoslavie has an apocalyptic prophecy. The world is going to end in chaos and destruction. The ports of heaven are closed, and those left behind are doomed to burn in hell, where Fat Cat probably tortures you forever and ever. Unless the 4 rescuers sent by Gadget can save them and bring them to heaven in time. Rescuers as in the other R.A.G.E Rangers, I suppose. So yeah, the other characters seem to exist in Gaikoslavic faith, but they seem to be not exactly gods like Gadget. It's not known what happens if Gadget dies, if such tragedy would ever occur. Like, does it mean that the world is also going to end? And then what happens with the R.A.G.E Rangers? It's whatever, it's not that deep. Some Gaikoslavs do display a certain disdain for organized religions, mainly Christianity, since they were raised in an Orthodox Christian culture. For example, comments point out the violence made in the name of religion. This happens especially when Gaikoslavs are criticized. Why can't they practice a normal faith? At least they are peaceful. Yeah, imagine Gaikoslavs starting a crusade or a holy war against the non-believers. The same trend can be seen in comments on posts and articles about Gaikoslavie. The 2010s internet atheism crowd saw the mouse cult the same way as any established religion, made just as little sense to them. I don't know most of the members' stances on religion, but I have a feeling most of them are not that religious, outside of Gadget loving, of course. To them, she might seem more approachable and relatable, so they choose her and her virtual church instead. But they are not entirely disconnected from their cultural background and upbringing, as we saw when Christianity heavily influenced their holy texts. As I mentioned, there were discussions in the forum about what the Gaikoslavic religion should be like. Forum threads covered important topics like what should Gaikoslavs eat. Apparently cheese and nuts. Someone even wonders if fasting should be a part of their practice. Gaikoslavic Ramadan. Another thread discussed ways to pray to Gadget. You should pray in front of a picture of her, or if you don't have one, just imagine her. What are the actual prayers like? Looks like they never got finished. There were definitely plans to make them. There's a thread where they conversed if it's okay to just take an Orthodox Christian prayer book and change everything to be about Gadget. Someone else claims they meditate and think about Gadget while listening to psychedelic music. Like what? Not the cartoon theme song? Like in loop? In these sessions they imagine just hanging out with Gadget. Cool! I was wondering if anyone tried to create a Gadget talpa. Alright, but how serious are these people? It was mentioned how real-life issues in the Rescuers fandom were the reasons for forming Gaikoslavie before jumping into all this stuff about the creation of the world, several forms of Gadget and the apocalypse. But did anyone believe all that though? The Western articles and YouTube videos usually insist that this is a legit religion and these people are fully in it. But I seriously doubt that. I'm not buying that anyone actually practiced Gaikoslavie or especially believe that this cartoon character is our divine creator.
I'm an idol worshipped by many.
To me, this is just role-playing. Very, very committed role-playing, but role-playing nonetheless. It's understandable to see this as real when you look at the sincerity and effort of it all. Like Kon and his comrades took a lot of time and effort to lab as a cult and write their own lore. But it's not really all that unusual in fandoms. People care so much about their favorite media, they learn even fictional languages like Klingon and Elvish, and even parody religions based in fiction and their fandoms are not unheard of. like again Jediism. Outsiders have just missed a joke and the hints found all over. If this was real to them, they probably wouldn't explain their origin as intentionally divinizing a fictional character to calm down guys crying about their rat waifu not being real. They would have written something like a Genesis Gadget creating the universe in her workshop in 7 days or something like that. And they probably would have also finished the holy texts, not abandoning them after supposedly getting bored. Guys, it's just nerdy furries laughing and everyone is just playing along as if it's a real cult. But you are all welcome to join my totally real and serious cult named Gaikoslavie, where we worship Beckbeat from Goof Troop as a goddess. Beck is love, Beck is life. In forum posts, we can find more clues that none of this is real to anyone, like the constant role-playing, implying they do enjoy it, and the discussion about an actual Gaikoslavic church. Not a virtual one, a real building in real life. Yes, confess your sins to Gadget. They wanted a huge boulder-shaped building with a hole on the roof like the Pantheon. On the roof, special ceremonies would be held, and the structure would be completely gilded. The gold would be gathered either from Fat Cat or from a machine that creates gold bricks. Yeah, it's got clear they're just kidding, imagining what the church would look like for fun. But for some reason the Medium article took this seriously, claiming that a church building was really in plans. Gaikoslavs just had to abandon it because, surprise surprise, building a giant gilded nutboat costs a lot of money. They're not American televangelists after all, but I'd like to imagine that somewhere in Russia there's a mansion far away from civilization where a bunch of neckbeards live together and worship Gadget. A seemingly concerned onlooker who took Gaikoslav seriously expressed his disdain for the cult. He wrote to the Konorama guest book, quote, "Hello. I'm an ordinary, average Russian from Novosibirsk. I'm 52 years old and have 2 university degrees. I've already had some life experience, so please don't dismiss my message without due consideration, as it was written by someone who understands everything. I really want to express my negative opinion about your faith, religion, whatever you want to call it, Gaikoslavie. I think it's all complete nonsense, and your addiction could even develop into insanity. Over time, that's what will happen if you don't do anything, I think. And I wish you only the best. I don't want you to suffer later, in old age, from loneliness and sad thoughts, or even a mental hospital, which could happen to the particularly vulnerable among you. I have a lot of acquaintances and friends. I tell them about you, and not a single one has yet approved of your cult. So draw your own conclusions. I'm for freedom of religion, but normal religions, not cartoon worship. I think your faith is based solely on warm, sweet, distant childhood memories, your love for good, positive cartoon characters, which you continue to love as an adult. But you need to grow up." He keeps going, saying they're all delusional, grown men should be doing better things with their spare time, blah blah blah. Like, okay, normie. He gets a response. "It's interesting why you decided that people take this stuff too seriously. Hockey can also be called a cult, and far more people are fans of it." Others simply assume him to be a troll, which is of course a possibility. Yeah, no one is taking this guy's advice. Because as the reply said, no one is taking Gaikoslavie as seriously as he claims. It's not that deep, bro. And yeah, it's a good point that a lot of things have fans so passionate it gets to an almost religious or cultish level. But no one cares if it's about something more socially acceptable. And the Gaikoslavs are not hurting anyone, at least they're not beating each other up and burning down a city because of a football game or something. I also find it unlikely for someone to get so deeply invested in Gaikoslavie that they end up in a hospital. And in that case, you gotta have some other underlying issues. It's not exactly because of a cartoon fandom. But I do find the idea funny that some dude in his 50s, with 2 university degrees mind you, uses his time to write a wall of text trying to save some nerds from going insane because of their R.A.G.E. But he did have one point in his long comment. Gaikoslav's cartoon worship is related to childhood nostalgia. R.A.G.E. Rangers was most likely part of their youth, seeing the show for the first time when they were little. The show originally aired in the US from 1989 to 1990, airing in Russia the next year, 1991. And you know, something pretty important happened to Russia at that time. Yeah, the collapse of the Soviet Union meant huge changes in Russians' everyday life. The entire political system had changed after all. Even the show's airing is part of this transition. Western cartoons weren't really that accessible before, and now they were showing one on TV for the whole nation, when you used to have to rely on some rare bootleg VHS cassettes. So for many, this was the first time they even saw Western animation. And if you've ever seen Soviet animations, you know the vibe is different. R.A.G.E. Rangers was novel, nothing like you've seen before. The Russian 90s were a turbulent time with severe economical and social problems. The GDP dropped in half, savings were devalued, wages and social benefits left unpaid, life expectancy sank. The wild 90s, as it's called, are remembered for uncertain, chaotic atmosphere and high criminality rates and organized crime. The transition to capitalism was pretty rough, and even if you're just a child, you can still sense the grim mood surrounding you. So a colorful cartoon show where whimsical rodents save the day is a nice source of escapism. Some Gaikoslavs made this notion themselves. Gadget came to their life during a bleak time, being the light in the darkness. These Gaikoslav guys, they actually seem pretty wholesome to me, but they did have their own problems. Most of them are because of Gaikoslavs themselves, in addition to trolls who find the whole thing ridiculous, or other outsiders who think they must be insane. Apparently some trolls formed a rival cult in Vkontakte, Russia's Facebook for chip called Gaikoslavie, and they cursed their mortal enemies Gaikoslavs.
Fucking rats!
And this and other similar anti-groups are paid no attention. Gaikoslavs don't seem to care at all, realizing that ignoring them is the best option. No, the actual drama came from the community itself. According to, again, forum posts, in 2004 there was a war fought in the Russian rescuers fandom. Konorama was apparently created because the fandom was overtaken by people who acted like tyrants. They wanted to be in absolute control as the true voice of the fandom. They believed to be the only ones who really get it, acting like they're above all criticism. So some of the old fan sites became unbearable and fans needed a new place to call home where these bullies didn't have influence. But a single place for the whole community was not easy to achieve. The fandom was and stayed fragmented. Everyone wanted their own site where they could be the one in control, where you could silence anyone who disagrees with you. Looks like the rescuers community had a problem with power-hungry people who ruined it for everyone else. These issues continued with Gaikoslavic sites, and Khan is also kinda guilty of this. Sometimes he acted the same way on his site. Like here's an example. In 2010, a user named Rom says that he has created a Vkontakte group for Gaikoslavie. Its legitimacy is questioned by Kon. He doesn't think Rom knows enough about Gaikoslavie to start a Facebook group about it. Rom starts to criticize the snobbish gatekeeping culture in the fandom. Too many people believe they are the only true fans and believers. Ironically, he thinks his own group is the most authentic to the spirit of Gaikoslavie, some fresh air in the old, stale community. Look, he's like Martin Luther, revising the faith. Now Kon is getting pissed, stating that Rom doesn't know anything about Gaikoslavie. He has only studied it on a surface level and is now acting like a big shot, hitting on the very person who made his study material. He's acting exactly like so many separatist trolls before him. Don't study the holy texts, still claim them as your own, proclaim yourself as the truest Gaikoslav of them all, and call everyone else out for being wrong and also stupid. So now Rom says Kon is being paranoid, refusing to trust anyone and seeing conspiracies everywhere. This is no way of running a community. He's shooing any new faces away. He got banned for that one, reason being that he was rude, paranoid and attacking Kon personally. Kon also kept insisting that Rom had stolen his material, reposting them as his own. When someone else questioned the ban, thinking it's a bit harsh and Kon is kinda acting exactly like the ones he criticizes, he gets also banned. Yeah, things were heatening in the Gadget cult community. All this over a f***ing Facebook group. Petty bickerings and criticizing Kon and his ways of running the site could easily get you permabanned as a bully. So despite the goal to organize and unify the community of brotherly love and compassion, both the Rescuers fandom and Gaikoslavs stayed fragmented in the 2010s. Fans not getting along and being spiteful, judging, controlling. Yeah, this is exactly what Gadget would have wanted. Great job, guys! Petty arguments in a fandom are probably not shocking news to anyone. I'm only surprised there weren't any shipping wars. Only in the general Rescuers fandom and in the 90s. But yeah, shipping was part of the fandom, where Gadget is usually paired either with Chip or Dale. Or sometimes Foxglove or Tammy. Gaika, more like Gaika. I wonder what the fans thought about the 2022 Rescuers movie, because it's revealed that Gadget ended up choosing Zipper, the bug. Yeah. I don't think the movie is mentioned anywhere on the Konorama site. That might be saying something. After the most active days at the turn of the 2010s, things have been pretty quiet in Gaikoslavie. There are guestbook messages and updates here and there, but it seems like Gaikoslavs, other Gadget fans and the Rescuers fandom in general are far past their glory days. They never disappeared completely, but a lot of the fans have moved on to other fandoms. The core members got older and their offline life came in the way. There was less passionate interest, even if the show and its mouse heroine never truly left their hearts. Media comes and goes, and fandoms rise and fade away along with them, few lasting for long. It's actually surprising how the Rescuers fandom was even as prominent as it was, a decades-old fandom for an even older show that ended in 1990. I had no idea it was this big of a deal, with so many dedicated fans. Even outside the fandom, those who grew up with the show still remember it fondly, many also having a special place in their heart for Gadget. Like this blogger who loved the show as a kid and also had a puppy love-like crush on Gadget. So he had a certain understanding for the Gaikoslavs. Quote, "I like the idea that one of my favorite protagonists in one of my all-time favorite animated shows has brought people so much joy and had such an impact on their lives they still care about her. That's the power of fandom, folks, and it is a force to be reckoned with. While I cannot say that my own love for Gadget ever reached such levels of devotion, I did learn from her character that being different and unique are not bad things. They can be great strengths, even your own personal superpower if utilized in the right ways." The golden age of Gaikoslavie are long gone. It was never super well known, but after the spike of Western publicity it got in the 2010s, it faded into even more obscurity. Nowadays it's being mentioned mainly by those deep into eccentric internet people. The fan sites are like ghost towns, abandoned ruins with ugly web design, reminders of a past where cartoon mice could be gods. It's like looking at an ancient temple built long ago for a deity now forgotten. The most prominent proof of Gaikoslavie ever existing are the pictures taken back in 2009, showing their march in the cold Russian evening. They tell us about the dedication of this past fandom, traveling to another city to meet the friends you've made online, playing out a ritualistic ceremony in public, weirding out anyone that sees you. But you don't care. You are surrounded by friends, celebrating the one thing that connects you all, a piece of media you all care for deeply. And these are someone's memories, I hope good ones. Gadget is not completely left in the past. Some residue of the adoration and worship she used to get still echo in the Konorama guest book. Hey Gon, well done! We're cultists. We're still here. Happy birthday, Radiant Gadget. So I guess that at least for now, we don't have to worry about the end of the world, since some are still doing the good work of glorifying Gadget Hackwrench's name, keeping the promise made long ago to keep her alive forever. Looks like she's still out there somewhere, watching over us. Maybe she's looking at our world, thinking to herself, "Golly, what the f*** is going on out there?"